Well, gentlemen, we're here to talk about the GB solid state 300 bilinear. GB solid state 300 bilinear. Shocking. I know. I apologize. Okay, so why is it here? Apparently, according to the owner, high, medium, and I guess max wasn't working properly on the front of the switch. And so he pulled the amp apart and he looked on the inside and he goes, this isn't too complicated, and goes and takes the whole thing apart and started cutting wires, and he thought he had pictures and looking at stuff and everything was Gucci, and he says now no work at all. So our goal is to pop some screws and take some shit apart, and let's take a look for on the inside and let's see how bad this really is. I highly doubt the pills are blown. They might be. I doubt it though, but we're gonna find out. We're gonna rip the skin off this thing and let's get down and let's see what kind of warts it's got going on and where they're at. So in the process of jiggling this around, we couldn't help but notice that this ground wire, which goes off to this side of the cabinet to feed what, I don't know yet because I haven't got it apart that far yet, was not soldered down. Where does this go? This green lead, it's also not soldered down. And I say green because I'm talking about down here pre the extension. I think he wanted to set this up so he could do like a clamshell thing and like lay it over on its side, but and it's just an unregulated supply. The rectifying studs are over here in this heatsink, and then two like 35 amp transformers, which is really all you need. It can't be this uncomplicated. It can't be. Okay, so let's start thinking like an amplifier technician now. First off, we're gonna just figure out how all the controls work. The actual on-off switch is literally the 110 volt break line. This is what breaks the connection post fuse. So this comes and goes. Yep. Okay. So this is our common summed ground return, which they have on the hot side, or on the return side. This is our hot lead. It comes down. It hits our 110 switch, and that's going to be displayed with this LED indicator here on the front. This LED indicator is fed by this common positive rail here, which is the blue wire. So we'll need to clean this up, and that common rail will light this LED. Now the next switch down is the sideband delay, which is here, but they've got that set up. Okay, so next switch, so this is RF send indication. Okay, so we've got our output combiner, then it goes through a little tiny disc, and then we've got a coupling diode to ground for the field shunt. And that's what drives this LED for the RF indicator. And then preamp is this green wire. And that is fed from the switch. Top side's hot, so this is going to be our hot lead. So either I can bring this over and attach it to our common bus, which is this orange wire, and tap the 12 volt from it, or I can bring it back up to the output transformer. This ground lead was not hooked up. This is what carries 100% of the ground for the whole amplifier. This is the hot lead. It was hooked up, but very poorly. That's what carries 100% of the ground current. So our 60 amp worth of transformer, 70 amp worth of transformer that's in here is free floating in space through this one wire. The output section, that looks a little questionable to me. Let's get in here and put some more light on the situation. This has all been burned up and arced over at one point. That looks okay, like somebody's gone in there and attempted to repair it. Well, a lot of this stuff didn't even need to be cut, like this wire that goes from here to here. A little blue wire. This little blue wire. I think what they were trying to do is make it so the whole ass end, they could take the whole thing out and lay it out like a sandwich. Like unfold a sandwich, you know what I mean? So this purple wire and this purple wire, they don't need to be extended. And this purple wire comes from the output section. So this is our output lead. Are you... Wow, the ground wire is about to break off. Are you kidding me? Yeah, this is 100% of our output potential goes through this wire. Okay, so if I just go in here and replace the hack fuckery that's gone on. I mean, I don't see any burned 10 ohms. Not even slightly discolored. All right, well, let's do some solder magic and let's clean all of this up. We're gonna get rid of all of this here. Let's go get some heat shrink and get to work. Okay, now we got everything cleaned up. The power LED was blown, clean out of this thing. Of course, none of the screws are in this, so we got a differentiating voltage that takes place between here and here because there's no case ground. That's what this jumper does. So it's just in there temporarily. Just to show you this. Ta-da! And look, LED indicator works on the front. So this is an unregulated 20 volt supply, which means it'll pull down to 15, 16 volts in operation. Really, the only way to proceed forward is to let the voltage bleed off out of the capacitor bank and let this come down to 0, and then we'll put the whole thing back together. Some of the things I did is I upgraded the power wire going over here to the back end of the output transformers so we could actually get decent current. They had this little hibma-jib, which was broke, and then this little hobma-job, which has been burnt and discolored. And the hobma-job was carrying from the hibma-jib that was attached here to the back of the wing-a-ding. I'm not lying. They literally had that crappy piece of wire to a solder nut that looked like it was soldered by a 2-year-old going to that little white wire running over to that output transformer. This is a 1000 ohm resistor. It's a 1K, and that's what they had, is they knocked down resistor for the LED display. No good. So kind of interested to see what's going on with this low, medium, and max thing. This is our primary wire that carries the RF to the input circuit. That's our wire that carries our RF out. This green wire, or pardon me, yeah, the green wire is what carries the RF over to blue wire carries it to this pad, which is our input tune. The orange wire is what carries it over here to our low, medium, and high. So, like I said, we're down to 0. Let's pull this off. There's some of this that I question, like the output tuning capacitor and this wire here. What it's hooked up to, I think, is bullshit. If I peel this up and I look at it, like, it's really dangerous that we have this exposed, almost touching this tuner, which is 12 volts hot. Then we've got our 2 output leads, and then this is floating in free space. I'm not digging that, but that's the way it was wired, so we're going to kind of run with it for the hot minute, and let's see what happens when we test it. Kind of interested. I mean, I guess I could bolt a wire here and bolt a wire here and have it open, which is probably actually the safest thing to do. Or I could solder a wire here with an eyelet on it. I'm gonna do that. Okay, we got our little temporary setup set up. Got our little ground wire going over to the power supply board. And this just to make sure everything's working. Thank you, Jesus. I don't have to take all of that apart to fix the preamp. Preamp is working. So let's start over here and let's look at some units of measure. This is a 1000 watt slug and peak, 1000 average, 5 watt slug and reverse. Back from the bird, 10,000 watt dummy load. Turn the amplifier off. Hello, audio. Put about 20 watts in it with a 1 watt dead key. So let's see what happens here. Hello. 1 watt carrier going in. About 150 watts going out, 110 watts going out. Hello, modulating up to a whopping 180 watts. We've also got this going on up here. It's a 5 watt slug in reverse. Hello. Putting 1 watt worth of carrier in it and I'm getting 2 watts back. So, hello, audio. Now, that being all taken into consideration, let's bring the camera back here a little bit. Let's look at this. So we're going to be watching a watt meter up here. We're on low. Hello, 1, 2. Medium. Hello, 1, 2. High. Hello, 1, 2. And max. Hello, 1, 2. This is working fine. Our problem's over here. So let's image mode thermal only. Well, what is getting smoking hot here? Our output tuning cap. This tuning cap's getting crazy hot. I don't think either one of these trimmers is set up properly, and I'm pretty sure that's the wrong value capacitor, which would throw this whole mess off. So let me play with it for a minute. Let's see if we can figure it out. Okay, if RF gets in the microphone, it's not my fault. It's literally showing us dirty versus clean power. So, hello. There's about 520 watts from the exact same amp. Hello, audio, about 500 watts. Now it looks great on a watt meter, and this is why we need a spectrum analyzer. So let's go look at our spectrum analyzer. So that's 500 watts on the watt meter, but where is it at? Everywhere. We're looking at this from 0 megahertz all the way out to 200 megahertz. And I have all kinds of interstortion harmonics that go on everywhere here. I don't want to bother getting out the measuring kit, but I would say I've got a harmonic in 20 megahertz, 15 megahertz, probably 50 megahertz, again at 75, again at 80, another one at about 100, 110, and about 140 megahertz. So, when we force modulate it and saturate the circuit, most of it comes down, most of the secondaries, third, fourth, and all the other harmonic levels come down and get suppressed. So that's 500 watts. Or we change a couple things. All right, that's one. This big secondary spike here is caused by an imbalance between the two transformers. See that? God, the circuit is flaky. So we can get it relatively clean. To me, that's relatively clean. We're talking most of the first, second, and third harmonics are way out of it. Like, we can get them way down. There's a little bit of fuzz that's down here in this end of the spectrum, but that doesn't matter because the antenna is not going to be anywhere remotely resonant. And that's really only maybe like a watt or two of the output power. So we know 100% of the issue with this now was never the high, medium, and low knob. It was all about the tune that's going on. And what I've got set up down here is I got an air variable hooked up where this 270 puff capacitor was at, which was the wrong value cap. Somebody else has come along and put this in here. One, it's not big enough, and two, it's the wrong amount of capacitance level. So when we start to saturate the component with a bunch of capacitance, like, so that would be almost no capacitance. I think on this particular tuner it's like 10 puff, and all the way interlaced it's 110 puff or 100 puff. When we introduce a bunch of capacitance in the circuit, a lot of the harmonics get suppressed, but then this amplifier falls back and only does about 300 watts. Hence the reason that the label on the front says 300. So then, to get all the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh harmonics, that big chunky extra harmonic bump that was present is caused by these two tuners not being exactly matched. Once you get their capacitance levels dialed into where they're the same, most of that second, the big second harmonic goes away. Let's come back over here. Let's look at this for a second. See? I don't mind. See, now it's fallen into oscillation. It's the reason I went right back on the key. The amplifier is fallen into oscillation. The input and the output circuits are too close to each other, and it's causing the thing to automatically harmonically oscillate. When I come off the key, it's running away. So let's make this dirty again. Still oscillating. Let's come in here. Let's adjust this capacitor. Adjust this capacitor. Now these are 40 dB down from principal. These two here. These two little spikes. Hello, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2. Now look at what we got going on over here. Hello, 1, 2. We got our 300 watts back, right? So now let's start adding capacitance on the output circuit. Hello, there's 400. Hello, and there's our 500 back. 500 plus. Hello, close to it. But right at about 80 puff. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello. It's where we achieve our cleanest power level. So, the end of the story is, I'm going to keep playing with it, but I got to put air on it to let it cool off. This cap was the crux of all of this mess. This cap got put in here, and somebody went in here and just started playing with it, thinking it was the high, medium, and low knob, which it was not. So, let's put some air on it, let it cool off. I'll figure out what I want to do for an output tuning capacitor. We'll play with the input tune just a smidge, and I think we'll have it. Well, let's see, where are we here? Call that a win. Nice and clean, no harmonics. Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Does about 400 and some watts. Hello, audio. Most of it, but 99% of it, on frequency. Now, let's go over here. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Hello, audio. Happy. So input tune's right. Output power's right. Spectrum analyzer's happy. The Let's see, what did somebody call me on Facebook this morning? I got a screenshot from some dude out there. Oh, BBI's a hack. He's not really a technician. He's a copycat. Okay. I laugh when I read those comments because it's like, you know, I've worked on, well, let's see, 3,000 something that have been, you know, then plus the repairs that I've done, it's another 3,000 or 4,000 boxes. And they're on every kind of amp, literally every kind, and I don't mean that to be boisterous, I mean literally every single kind of amp that man has ever created for, you know, the 30 megahertz range. I've had. I mean, the list is getting really small on the ones I haven't worked on. All you can do is laugh. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You know, it makes me laugh, but anyhow. No schematics on earth found for this thing anywhere. I just repaired it out of my mind. So thank God there now is a YouTube video out there for somebody else to look at and copy. So the hack's going to do hack things, and I'm going to flip out my smoke and mirror card, and I'm going to put this all back together. But this is what we took out of it. And for the most part, this is what it looks like when it leaves here. And everything's working. And it's spectrally much tighter than what it was. And there's no electrical tape in this thing. This is all 600 volt heat shrink. This particular joint is marine grade because it's, well, part of the 110 volt circuit. So, okay, let's slap this puppy back together and it can go home. Well, it's no longer a 150 watt turd bucket. Hello, audio. It actually picked up a little bit of power by us putting it back together. A little bit better ground going on, you know. Hello, 1, 2. About 125 watts. And our harmonic signal looks a lot cleaner than what we had going on when it first came in here. It's way down. So, all the way around, I'm going to say this. It's about a 30 watt max drive, so like 1 watt dead key, maybe 2 watt dead key at the most. 30 watt peak envelope power max drive, little linear that, well, didn't even turn on when it came in here, and now it's fully functional, and high, medium, and low all works. And guess what? The moron did his job. Okay. Well, this hack copy technician out here in Idaho, I'm going to go off and go do some other stuff. I actually got one of my own that I got to go fix. It's from my friend down there in California. He's down in the Bay Area. I think his power supply went tits up on him and it might have wiped out his box. So that's what's up next. And then in the background on over here, we've been working on 2 6-bills, 2 base 6-bills. One with linear supply and the other one with switchers. So. On this note, I want to say to the gentleman that sent this up here, thank you, appreciate your patience. You're all fixed up, ready to go, and I'm out. I'm off to go do other shiggity. So I think I might take the family to dinner. So, gentlemen, my name is BBI, and I want to say big shout out to Excess Power, Siglant, MacMan, Coaxial Dynamics, of course, for the corporate sponsorship of the Slugs, Bird for the sponsorship of Being Bird, Siglant, because they are my unit standard of measure. Big thanks to my Patreon supporters, which there seems to be more of you guys every single day. I want to say thank you. You guys down here, welcome, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. There's a list at the end of this video of who they are. And a big thanks to every single one of you guys, because I've been sitting here looking at 10 years worth of videos. Without you guys watching and your guys' support, I wouldn't get to be here, and I mean that honestly. I think guys that work on amps and do stuff with amps, they get all wrapped up in their little egos in their mind, and they get living in this world where they think that they're the whatever, the shit niggity or whatever, and that ain't me. Every day I get up and I'm grateful to be here. I say thanks, gentlemen. I'll see you. Click, click.